Hello, Eric Walczykowski, CEO of Bespoke Partners and host of Tailored Talent. Today, I'm joined by my partner, Alex Bossetta and Loreal Shea, here to talk about human capital leaders. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Great. Well, 2024 has been a very active year for talent leaders. And I actually look at that as a leading indicator with folks investing in the future, because as they start thinking about growing, they bring on talent leaders and look at their holistic process of attract, develop, retain, belong. So as we look at that, what type of trends are you seeing in the market for talent leaders?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest thing we've seen in the last quarter is really number of step-up candidates getting C-level people in talent roles for the first time. I think it was definitely increased percentage in terms of what we've seen in prior quarters. And I think context to kind of what we saw is there were a lot of folks who were getting C-level roles for the first time, so stepping up from the VP seat into a C-level seat, but then also roles that were VP level really being elevated to the C level, C-suite, and really being able to have board exposure, have a seat at the table, kind of voice in their room where maybe they were previously sitting under another executive, like a COO, CFO, or maybe even president in some organizations. So I think really encouraged to see that trend happening in the last few months.
No, that's fantastic. I mean, the number of step-ups is huge. And I think part of that also involves just the growth of the role. We don't have enough talent leaders out there that have held the chair. Therefore, the opportunity for us, because we know the market so well, to find those step-ups is extremely important. What have you guys seen as far as compensation across the role?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Eric. We are seeing, the strategic expectations for the CHRO role start to shift. And from there, compensation has begun to follow this trend. So although CHROs are still at the bottom of the pack when it comes to C-suite hires, there has been a 10% increase in the average comp within these hires since last summer.
Yeah, and I think that's clearly a sign of a tight talent market and us continually going after the best of the best. And look, as we head into 2025, and I'm anticipating new platforms and M&A transactions pick up, I think the talent market's going to continue to be tight, which to me suggests the compensation levels are going to change. But as we think about new starts or new platforms in 2025, how do you anticipate that impacting the people leader role?
Yeah, I think what we're hearing, from a lot of clients that we're working with is that getting the right people in the right roles is critically important. So that comes down to not only talent acquisition, but, talent development management internally. I think as you think about, new platforms being acquired by private equity or doing acquisitions to add on and really grow the business through M&A, I think that, org design, people plan, from the beginning and kind of being able to iterate it along the way, I think is incredibly important. So I think we're hearing from executives that they're spending a lot of time, kind of on site and headquarters, with the acquisitions in companies that they're acquiring to really understand, okay, where is the talent and who are the really great people we want to retain and kind of get in the combined organization, and then making the plan. Okay, here are the gaps, and here is the acquisition strategy we really need to put together to go out and get the people that we don't have today to really help us get to the next level in the future.
I think that's spot on. And I think, look, I mean, we share this view that the ultimate driver of value creation is people. And the sooner that we can create that talent roadmap in the investment hold period, the more successful that we can all become in value creation. And of course, we practiced that ourselves. We brought on a people officer actually ahead of our transaction. And that has been instrumental in our attract, develop, retain, belong strategy at Bespoke. And so I think getting ahead of that, particularly as new starts happen, is going to be extremely important. It's an area where we can help. Loreal, just curious, one of the themes I think we've seen in these new platforms is international expansion. And so talk to me a little bit about how that talent leader can impact an international strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a level of complexity that is added to every dimension of the HR leader when there is international expansion, from talent acquisition to setting up facilities, legalities around visas, and working with unions and worker councils. I'll also add that historically, other than talent acquisition, HR has been fairly internally focused, which has made sense for the most part. But now the growth of this remote work and international expansion has upended a lot of the old model, and HR leaders need to figure out how to orchestrate this new ecosystem. They are thinking beyond the traditional internal customer of their employees and focusing on the end customers, their investors, and really society at large to develop their people expertise that encompasses a wider range of relationships beyond their organization.
No, absolutely. So I mean, if international is part of your theme, getting that people officer again is so important to building out the team. Coincidentally, it's funny. I was at a dinner in Seattle about 2 years ago now, and I was sitting with chief digital officers, chief information officers, and chief technology officers, and we started talking about AI. And what was fascinating is I had, and these are larger companies, let's call them Fortune 500 companies. And I asked the chief information officers, I said, hey, who are the early adopters of AI? And they said, so they had us guess, and none of us guessed right. But it was human resources or talent as the early adopters of AI. Talk to me a little bit about those trends. What are these leaders using AI for?
Yeah, and I think I've seen multiple reports where it's about 80% of HR organizations and software and tech companies are leveraging AI in some capacity at this point. So I think it's great to see that level of adoption across organizations. And the biggest use case is talent acquisition and recruiting. So from resume screening to interview note taking to kind of having a co-pilot lead you through the process and just ensuring you're staying on top of candidate communication, automated updates, and things like that. I think it's being leveraged just to ensure a really great candidate experience and then streamline some of the assessment and vetting. I think that comes through, receiving hundreds of resumes for kind of frontline roles that a lot of these software companies are really trying to navigate. I think we're starting to see some organizations leverage it on the compliance and legal side. There are certainly implications for that need to stay top of mind, but being able to, really synthesizing kind of employee agreements, compliance regulations into kind of easy and digestible, manners for the rest of the organization. I think we're seeing a bit of that too.
No, absolutely. Well, and in addition to talent leaders adopting AI for their organization, as we head into 2025 and AI continuing to proliferate the corporate entity, I actually see talent leaders being a huge piece to the organizational change that needs to happen to use AI. And it's fascinating because we talk about this internally all the time is the tech is the easy part. It's getting the humans to use the tech in the right way. And I think that is going to be a major opportunity for 2025 for talent leaders to drive adoption of AI. And part of it is even screening for that on the intake as they hire new employees and their adeptness or willingness to adopt AI. And so no doubt as we head into 2025, the talent role is going to continue to be extremely important. I imagine the number of folks requiring a chief people officer is going to go up as we continue to see this war for talent as important. And of course, we stand ready to help folks given our sole focus on software, people leaders in software, and the great team that you all lead at Bespoke Partners. So guys, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Thanks, Eric.